All right, let's jump right in. Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're tracking down a microscopic killer. We're looking at a pathogen that's responsible for a silent, deadly, and highly contagious global epidemic. It's basically a biological thriller that plays out entirely inside the human body. So we're going to break down exactly how it operates, why it's so dangerous, and how, astonishingly, we already have the exact tools we need to stop it in its tracks. Picture a ticking clock in your head. Because honestly, when this pathogen strikes, that is exactly what you're up against. We are talking about a terrifyingly short biological timeline here. From the moment of onset, if left completely unchecked, this disease can literally take a healthy human host from feeling perfectly fine to entirely drained of life in just 24 hours. So meet the culprit, Vibrio Cholerae. This microscopic threat is the main driver behind what health experts call the silent epidemic. It's highly contagious, it's waterborne, and it just lurks invisibly in contaminated food and unsafe drinking water, basically just waiting for a human host to consume it. It is entirely invisible to the naked eye, yet profoundly deadly if you don't treat it.
But what actually happens when Vibrio cholerae gets inside you? Well, it causes cholera, which is defined as a severe diarrheal infection. And the stakes here are incredibly high. It spreads primarily through communities that lack access to clean, safe water. You drink the contaminated water, the bacteria enters your system, and right then, the clock starts ticking.
Section 1. Hijacking your gut. The microscopic invasion.
Okay, so let's zoom in. Moving from the outside environment right into your internal plumbing, we're looking at the exact battlefield here, the inside of your small intestine. This beautifully folded landscape is the mucus lining of your gut, which is designed to absorb nutrients and water. But for Vibrio cholerae, this is the primary target. The bacteria navigates all the way through your digestive tract, somehow surviving your stomach acid, just to reach the specific vulnerable surface. And it starts its attack within hours of arriving. Here's how the hijacking actually goes down, step by step. First, the bacteria uses its tail, called a flagellum, to literally drill down and penetrate that protective mucus lining. Second, once it's anchored in there, it deploys its main weapon. It releases what's known as the Cholera Toxin, or CT. Third, this toxin ruthlessly forces your own intestinal cells to pump out chloride ions. And finally, because of how osmosis works, those ions pull massive amounts of water straight out of your bloodstream and directly into your gut. The bacteria is literally tricking your own body into flushing itself out.
Which brings us to Section 2, Death by Dehydration. The escalation.
This microscopic hijacking quickly turns into some pretty horrific, rapid physical effects. 20 liters, just let that sink in for a second. That is the staggering volume of fluid a human body can lose in a single day through the profuse, watery diarrhea caused by cholera. To put that in perspective, that's about 5 gallons of liquid violently draining from your system in 24 hours. Medical professionals often refer to this as rice water stool just because of its cloudy appearance. The physical devastation that takes hold of the body is just immense. I mean, when you lose that much fluid that quickly, your body basically begins to crack and shut down. Your overall blood volume drops dangerously low, your vital organs are starved of oxygen and nutrients, and the actual structural integrity of your cells begins to collapse. And this happens fast. The onset is viciously rapid, with symptoms appearing within mere hours of infection. Aside from the extreme fluid loss, victims experience intense vomiting and incredibly painful muscle cramps as their electrolytes are just totally depleted. You'll visibly see sunken eyes as the body desperately pulls moisture from everywhere it can. This leads super quickly to hypovolemic shock, which is when your heart simply doesn't have enough blood volume left to pump, and, if untreated, death within 24 hours. Section 3. Can you survive? The blue healing light of treatment. Now, I know this all sounds terrifying, but here's the incredible part. The rescue here is surprisingly simple. Notice the absolute stark contrast in these numbers. If cholera is left untreated, the fatality rate is a massive 25 to 50%. Up to half of everyone who gets it dies. But with proper, timely medical intervention, that fatality rate absolutely plummets to less than 1%. It goes from a literal coin flip of death to highly curable. This completely flips the script. Early treatment absolutely saves lives. We aren't talking about needing million-dollar experimental gene therapies to defeat Vibrio cholerae. The accessible medical tools we have right now are incredibly effective at neutralizing the threat, provided they actually reach the patient in time. So what is this miraculous, life-saving cure?
Well, it's primarily oral rehydration salts, or ORS. It is literally just a carefully measured packet of salt and sugar mixed with clean water. That simple mixture absorbs into the gut differently, totally bypassing the cholera toxin's hijacking and rapidly replaces those lost fluids and electrolytes. We also use targeted antibiotics, like doxycycline, which kill the bacteria and shorten the illness. And for those severe cases that are already in shock, direct IV fluids are required to immediately restore that blood volume. But that's pretty much it: salt, sugar, water, and some basic antibiotics.
Section 4, still killing millions. The big picture. If the fix is really that simple, we have to zoom out and ask why this easily treatable disease remains such a massive worldwide threat today. Because cholera is definitely not just some relic of the 19th century, it's a global tragedy happening right now. An astonishing 95 countries are currently affected by this bacteria. To put a scale on it, we are looking at up to 4 million people infected by this pathogen every single year. 4 million people whose guts are hijacked, facing that terrifying 24-hour clock. And tragically, that results in anywhere from 21,000 to 143,000 global deaths annually. The root causes here aren't a lack of medical knowledge, they're almost entirely socioeconomic. This bacteria thrives in areas with unsafe water and poor sanitation. Currently, hotspots include Yemen, Haiti, the Democratic Republic of Congo, and parts of South Asia. And to make matters even more complex, climate change is actively worsening these outbreaks, as extreme weather events like massive floods destroy sanitation infrastructure and spread contaminated water even further. Which leaves us with this final, really provocative thought. If the cure for this horrifying biological invasion really is just clean water, salt, and sugar, why are up to 143,000 people still dying from this silent epidemic every year? It forces us to look way beyond the microscope and start asking some really hard questions about global health equity and basic human infrastructure. Thank you for joining me for this explainer. I hope it gave you a clear, structured look into both the biology and the stark global reality of Vibrio Cholerae. Stay curious, keep learning, and I'll catch you in the next one.